All right, I would like to call this meeting to order.
Yeah.
It is 6:06. All right, well, welcome everyone. We're gonna begin started now. Thank you. We have somewhat of a long agenda today. We're gonna look at several projects, so let's just go ahead and dive right into it. Let's start with the approval of minutes. Assuming everyone had a chance to look through the minutes. We have a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
To approve the minutes as presented.
Okay.
I'll second.
Second, any discussion on the motion? No, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Let's go to item number 2. We have the Red Bud Trail. We have a concept design, 30% concept design for a bridge that is gonna go over Rock Road. And we're joined by a lot of folks. Welcome all.
Yeah.
I'll make it. My name is James Wagner. I'm the project manager for the city of Wichita. We're going to present on the Rock Pedestrian Bridge. I'm going to let Brad do his introductions here to the rest of the team, but I'll be here for answering questions. I'm going to sit down because I have a little bit of a malady in my leg right now, so I apologize for that. Otherwise, I would be standing up.
Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Brad Waller, Benish, project manager for the entire project. With us today in a long process, I'll get there real quick and turn it over to the meat and potatoes. But Ed Carpenter, he is our artist on board working for the bridge. And with him is Craig Totten. He's a structural engineer working on the specialty bridge that they're going to present to you today. It's actually pretty darn cool. I think maybe also on is Matt Hoffman and Nick Halsey with KPFF, and then Carissa McMullen with Land Works is also involved as we talk to kind of the projects. So I was here probably a year or so ago talking about the project. It is at 3.5 miles of Redbud Path from Woodlawn to basically K96. At that time I came to you, we were just starting the process of going to go down the selection or how we're going to go through an artist for this bridge. But in particular, we're not going to focus on that corridor today, just that little spot there right in pink, that Rock Road crossing. That is going to be a grade separated structure where we're going to go up and over Rock Road. And what we've done on the entire project, we worked on the conceptual design this summer, fall of 23. We did have an open house meeting that was very successful in October of 23. April 1 was when we were here last, and we talked about our plan of attack to bring on an artist and a selection and work with Carissa and the city and Landworks and Jana and everyone. James was involved, came together, and we came up with a program to go select an artist and do an RFQ for an artist selection. Long story short, a lot of hours and effort went into it. We found that Ed was one of the leading candidates, or was the leading candidate, was selected to assist us. Looking back as we worked with Ed for the last 9 months or so, it's been a great experience and a great opportunity. Really excited for him to show off today what they've come up with. But we're planning to complete design in the summer of this year, and then we're going to bid the project hopefully this fall, with construction to beginning in 2026, maybe a little bit of winter 25, maybe 26, and then into 27 as this bridge will take a while to manufacture and build up to it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ed and Craig to go through the bridge. I hope you enjoy what you're about to see.
Thanks, Brad. And hello, happy to be back in Wichita. It's always a pleasure coming back here. I did a project out at your airport not long ago, and that was fun too. Craig and I have designed several bridges before, and it was natural to involve him after I got selected here. My own body of work comprises mostly public sculptures, but I've veered off into bridges and really enjoy designing bridges, and particularly for a site like this. So there are a variety of things which you see on the screen here that have guided our process. And I won't go into every one of those, but every project like this is driven by its site. And this site has particular parameters that we needed to pay attention to. And in particular, I wanted, from a design standpoint, to be able to extend some of the process, some of the feeling of the trail across the bridge, because there's, as you'll see in the images, and if you've been out there, you know, that there's a very abrupt change from the character of the trail to the character of the crossing of Rock Road. See if I've got the right button here to go forward.
Other way.
Other way. Okay, good. So here's a typical character of the trail, and another image showing it, and it is generally much more sheltered and much more sylvan feeling than the crossing at Rock Road.
Just, no, go for it. She had a comment come up, they want to share the presentation online.
Okay,
They're saying, I think you and not the, so she's gonna set that up.
I see. Okay, great.
I know you didn't catch it.
Your presentation.
Up and down should work.
So you can see that there's an abrupt change from a more natural setting to a more suburban setting. And the bridge, of course, has to achieve a certain height to allow traffic to go under it. That requires very long ramps. So the ensemble that we're dealing with are two very long ramps and then a bridge that's about 110 feet long across the boulevard. And so the challenge to make a special bridge is, how do we make a bridge that is going to be a wonderful addition to this neighborhood, that relates somehow to this place, and that will be easy to maintain and compose well in this setting. This is my first sketch done many months ago, in which I was exploring the idea of playing with the structure for the bridge. The idea of having a double splayed arch, where the arches lean outward, has a lot of attraction. And this is just a quick sketch for how to understand that. And I proposed that to KPFF. Craig helped me understand just how that would work and helped me understand the value of arches in this particular situation. They're very efficient. So this is the palette that we end up working with. It's very simple structure, a very simple way to carry this load across. I was attracted to using native grasses as a theme to build on, and started sketching ways of developing the bridge imagery that would refer abstractly to native prairie grasses. And here we have the application of that kind of imagery to the bridge. And I'll let Craig talk about the structural aspects at this point.
Good morning. So basic structure of the bridge is what we call a tied arch. Arches are really efficient structure. You can see them back to long ties when they were built out of stone and brick. The difference is the modern take on it with steel is, in the old days, arches were, the thrust forces at the end of the arches were taken by gravity or a solid foundation. Now with the advent of structural steel, we can do what's called a tied arch, where rather than taking the thrust forces from the arch into the foundations, it's taken a tension tie that ties the two ends of the arch together. And it ends up being a very efficient structure for spans this length and longer as well. So that's what's happening here is the top arch is the compression element, the deck tie supports the concrete deck as well as holding the arches together. And then there's a series of tension members that come from the arch down to that lower tie, which keep the sizes small and provide the efficiency, but also provide some support for the screening. The screening on a bridge over over traffic. We have to be careful of the, well, one, to keep people on the bridge. We don't want anybody to fall. We don't want them throwing anybody with up to the mischief, throwing like that in traffic. And we also don't want to make it something that's attractive to climb. So the solution we came up with here was a mesh, a tightly woven steel mesh, which is very difficult to climb. It will extend right up to the top of the arch. And the beauty of it, though, is that, well, two benefits of it in this case are that you can see through it from the levels. There won't be any blind spots on the bridge. Law enforcement, emergency service will see what's happening on top of the bridge. But also, and Ed can talk about this later, is it reflects the light really well for the bridge to be lit at night time. Other materials we're proposing on the bridge are keeping with the theme of low maintenance. We don't want this bridge to have to be painted on a regular basis. We have 3 different materials which are essentially 0 to very low maintenance. Galvanized steel, so structural steel with galvanizing for corrosion protection. Weathering steel, sometimes called Core-10. Core-10 is a brand, but essentially the generic term is weathering steel. It's steel that starts to, as it is exposed to the weather, it forms a patina on the outside. It looks like it's rust, but it's actually a protective patina coating of the steel. And then stainless steel, which is very durable. That's an accent that's part of the grass feature. The arches are splayed to give them a more open feeling on top. One of the benefits of that, though, is that when you splay a structure or a railing on a bridge or on a walkway, this for bicycles, is you eliminate the danger of catching handlebars. So it provides an open structure without actually having to put in a rail or anything to stop it, because as the code requires a rub rail on a vertical rail of 54 inches, but anybody that's ridden bikes with kids or any member of the family, is very few bikes that actually have handlebars at 54 inches. So this is a much safer. Okay, you want to talk through some of the images?
Sure. I think we can go relatively fast. We have a lot of images taken from our model. And you can see the scale in relation to the surroundings. I think that's very important. And you can see the way that it has a feeling of being somehow related to nature, and somehow a feeling that it can extend the atmosphere of the trail to the extent possible across the bridge. And there's also a gesture in the arrangement of the elements that are riding from the deck up across. There's a sort of feeling of motion, which I think reinforces what will happen on the bridge with people going back and forth. Also, there are 3 layers. There's, 6 layers if you consider both sides of the bridge. So on the outer layer, closest to the viewer in this image, are the stainless steel and the galvanized elements. Then the next layer is the screening, which appears to be, it almost disappeared because the openings are only 3/4 of an inch. We have a sample here if you want to see it later. And then on the inside of the screening are the weathering steel elements. And then on the other side are 3 more layers that are the same as on this side. So you actually have 6 layers. So you'll see in the night views that you get a lot of wonderful texture. And one of the things I like so much about this design is the way we were able to create a feeling of layering and texturing, which is similar to looking through landscape. So here you can see that layering. And here you get an idea of screening. Screening is kind of hard to model, but this gives you an idea. So at an angle, it's a little less transparent, but it's very transparent in a perpendicular way. It would be very difficult to climb or throw anything off of the bridge.
All the tubes behind that screen, behind the mesh from the inside then?
There are members outside and inside.
But theoretically, somebody could climb up the pipe against the screen on the inside?
Well, conceivably, yeah.
There's your best view, and I'm not gonna get all your terms wrong in your head, but on the very right, you see what I guess is the gray or the steel. That's outside.
Yeah.
And you got your arch, the mesh is in that containment. And then the darker, the rustic brown is, yep, got it.
And the stainless steel elements on the outside, interwoven, and they're narrower and less frequent. So the lighting will be, there will be 4 strips of lighting, one inside and one outside at the deck level on both sides of the bridge. So all up lighting. And I think it'll be a very dramatic isn't the right word, but effective lighting of a structure which is rising up. It'll emphasize the rising quality of the design. So happy to have a discussion and questions at this point. Yes.
Sure. I've got 3 questions. The lighting on there, I'm assuming it's LED. Is that gonna,
Yes.
is it gonna be changeable? Or is it just a single?
Will emphatically not be changeable.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Will not be colored light.
It's gonna be warmer?
It'll be on the warm side, yes. It will be LED, so it'll last a long time, and it will be accessible, so you can change it.
Second question. On the gabions that are going on there, what are they, what are you planning on using for the stone in there?
I
think
we're showing a rock face wall, but we'll see what we end up with that. We haven't, when we come back for our 90% presentation, we'll know what those walls are made of. They're basically an MSC wall and we're showing a rock face on them, but that may or may not end up being what we.
Okay, I read in here that you were using gabions. You got it illustrated there.
One of the things that we're considering is a rock face wall that is held in place with a very rigid wire, welded wire. It's not exactly a gabion system.
Okay.
Craig can talk more about that. His firm has done a lot of rock face.
Just curious, what kind of stone? In other words, is it going to be like a limestone that might tie to the area? Is it going to be river rock? Is it going to be?
If that's the solution, then what we'd be looking at is what's called buffalo rock.
Well, we haven't done a lot of research with our landscape architect. Made us images of a number of kinds of rock that are available here. And in that particular bit of research, we liked the buffalo stone, but again, we're at the very early stages of figuring out what's the best way to do these walls. Obviously, we don't want them to be billboards for graffiti. And there are various issues that.
Yeah, I'm thinking less about that than how it aesthetically ties into the.
I would say up to this point, 95% of the efforts we put into the structure itself. It's more just of a show right now as we're talking about different ideas. So that really is, they're saying, we really haven't got that far. There's MSC, there's just plain concrete with landscaping. Yeah, there's all these, there's the range. And we're not here to say one versus the other at this point.
Last question is, has there been any conversation with the property owners on the southeast quadrant of this yet?
Yes. So I might elaborate just a little bit.
Right?
I might elaborate just a little bit. I think our standard right now would be an MSE wall that has some sort of a pattern on it, similar to what you might find on a simple pattern that you might find on Kellogg. That's where we're starting. And then we're imagining what a possible gabion might look like, but there's a lot of stuff, a lot of hurdles we have to get through in order to be able to use those. And those hurdles are pretty large. And so we're not sure that that's going to be an acceptable option. So right now, standard would be an MSE wall and work our way out from that. But yeah, and so there might be an opportunity.
Go back to my last question, which was regarding the owners of the property on the southeast.
Correct.
Conversation's been had with them about
Let's
this.
talk to them.
Yes, and I just would say that this is when the project first came to council to review the RFQ. I believe it was prior to both of you being here. And those were concerns that we had, making sure that there was enough community engagement with, given that the location and the neighbors, both residential and commercial, right? We really encouraged the team to due diligence with the people there.
Cool.
So that was a conversation that was had early on.
We've had multiple conversations with the property owner. the south.
I would say as recently as last week, they have seen this presentation and we wanted to make sure we met with them before we came here during that last time. And if we had any big uh-ohs, we would have delayed this meeting. Sure. But I think we have, I don't want to say complete buy-in, but we have a buy-in of this to move forward.
Okay, cool. Yeah, correct. So, I will, yeah, and I think, as Ed explained, the 3 layers, that they are the separated by types of materials, so.
And again, even though it looks like the bridge itself, it's, the design is fairly well developed, this is still their 30% review.
I'll link back to it, yeah.
We would love to have comments and any other questions that you have. I'd love to hear from each of you what you think.
What's the vertical clearance? I couldn't find that.
17.6 is the federal requirement, right?
So it's from center line of road up, that's what set off. That's why we went with the arch structure too, is it has the minimal depth of your deck. So that we'd have to raise it as much as possible. But the top of deck is roughly about 20 foot above center line.
And the grade on the ramps coming up and down?
4.9%. Exactly.
It does meet ADA.
Yeah, it meets ADA. I jokingly said 5% is max for ADA for that rail house. So we're designed 4.9 for a little room for error in there.
And are you gonna have the weathered steel, have it weathered before it's installed? Plan. Dominique?
Overall, I think it looks good. The weathered steel oftentimes will stain what's below it, the rain, so so this is falling into, where's that
You
stain?
do have to manage the runoff sometimes from the weathering steel. And the way the detailing is at the deck, I think that'll work well there. But we are paying attention to that.
I do love a good gabion wall. I'm not sure if it's Kansas oriented, like I said, like pointed out too. I mean, unless we can get a limestone stone or a yellow colored stone or something like that. So I'd probably encourage you to stick to the limestone colors personally.
It would definitely be a local stone for cost reasons alone, but also I think we agree completely to make it feel germane locally.
It was good on the renderings. I like the color there. So.
Thank you.
It just might be a question for you, but given the span of the bridge, are there any planned improvements to Rock Road down the road, or do you foresee any circumstance where they might add a dual left or, another outside lane potentially?
So the plan is to build a bridge so that you have enough clearance to do that additional widening to add a center turn lane if you would need to. It would not be big enough to do, I don't think, 3 lanes, but the center turn lane is available if we ever had to upgrade the road. We are not planning on doing that with the project. But there's really not a lot of turning movements that are necessary through here either. So it's probably an unnecessary cost that you would do to do that middle turn lane through here when you don't need to for like an at grade crossing. I will say for those that want to stay at grade, it's not really shown on here, but we are making a bicycle connection up to the north where the signal is at Bradley Fair. There is a crosswalk there. So there will be an at-grade crossing that you can use where you do not have to use this and cross the street further to the north.
They're crossing at 13th,
Yeah, there's a big intersection there.
and that sidewalk south to 13th.
We don't have the right of way, we need to do it. We don't have sidewalk on the southeast side, right?
No.
Yeah.
So currently today, just to orient you, if this is from south looking north, you do have a sidewalk on the west side of the road going north south. We are doing, for lack of a better term, an off ramp. A parallel sidewalk will come back and connect to grade back here to make this connection. And then we are going to create another off ramp right here along the north side that will turn north with a brand new sidewalk that will go down the Bradley Fair and make a connection to the nut sidewalks up here.
And then the signal is, the crossing is there, right? If you track it's right there.
That's the signal, but no improvements or anything to that intersection.
But that's not our intended crossing for people. That's just for anybody that does not feel like they want to use this. They have that opportunity to have an alternate route.
And back to the original question, one of the design parameters was to make this wide enough to do a 5-lane section, which is why you'll see more green space here than there. This was the old railroad right away. It's a 4-lane section through here, but it is 5-lane from here. You can see it widen 5-lane here, and it gets back to 5-lane there. So that was discussed, and would we go ahead and widen this to 5-lane at this time? And looking at traffic movements, going southbound to the southeast corner, you're not gonna have any left turn movements there. And then you have adjacent to deli right here that, no traffic study officially was done, but, right now it doesn't appear that those warrant a dedicated left turn. But the answer is yes, it's designed for a 5-lane section without having to impact the bridge and the structure in the future.
Janelle, do you have any comments?
Yeah, no, I think it's through the questions I had have now been responded to. So, yeah, that's great. I look forward to seeing this developed.
Thanks for clarification just on project scope. I know at one point we've discussed Woodlawn as well. That is not currently.
No, well, let me jump back here. So the project scope is, we're gonna separate this into 2 phases. Phase 1 is 3.5 miles from Woodlawn to 96, excluding about a 1/4 mile each way of rock for the bridge to the bridge. At Woodlawn, Webb, and Greenwich, we will do an at-grade crossing with a hawk signal. It's about an activated crossing signal system. So those will be improved that phase. This phase, and we focus mostly today on the bridge, but that's all part of that project.
It'll be the path itself will be paved then.
Yeah, the path itself will be paved. I think we have a decent example. There's a sample of what is east of 96 right now. That's a 9-foot wide concrete path, and it has a 3-foot running shoulder on the right of that select aggregate material for running. A lot of runners, true runners don't like to run on concrete, and then a little bit of a shoulder on each side.
So that will just be extended all the way then.
All the way through. And it is paved path then from Woodlawn West, I think all the way to the downtown where it ends. So it will now be paved for, I forget how long it's actually, 9
It's like
miles.
13 miles.
12 miles.
Any other comments? Thank you all for sharing all that information. Okay, so do I have any public comments at this point? Like we don't, so the recommended action for this item is approve the 30% presented today. Do we have a move? Yep. Do you have a second? Second, any discussion on the motion? No, all in favor say aye. Opposed?
Do public comment.
Yes.
Yes. I did.
Carry on.
Yeah. And thank you, Jenna, for including that on the agenda. Okay, it passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone, for your presentation. All right, moving on to agenda item number 3. We have the Wichita Public Library. We're gonna be looking at 2. For item 3, we're looking at Angelo, and that would be me. Santi.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me back again this month. It's not going to be significantly shorter than last month, so buckle up. We've got a few to go through again today. We are going to go through all of the Rockwell concepts that you saw last time and the addition of Rockwell number 1, which is teen art graphics. And then at Angelo, Armando is going to talk about his window graphics there. So I have floor plans, but I think Fred's seen these quite a bit. They're probably in your head pretty well. If not, stop me and we can talk about them again. This will be the element right here that Armando is talking about today. So I'll let him take it away.
Thanks, Allison. All right, so last time presented to the board It was online, so it's nice to actually do it in person this time. We talked about the focus that we had on Maya Angelou's work, specifically the word, right? And given that it's a library, the movement of knowledge. There we go. Again, some of the considerations that we have for this, we wanted whatever the graphic is to be welcoming, a warm color palette. The build out in the library is actually done, so we got a chance to go inside, look at the palette that's going on with the different wall colors, textiles. There's a lot of color going on in here, really bright space. We wanted to evoke movement, given that these are stationary and it's the first things you see. We also want safety for both employees and patrons. This is the front desk. People will be working there, so this will be directly behind them as they work. So we want to make sure that they're able to look back, turn around, and see what's going on behind them. Some sort of transparency, what's important, and of course, honor the neighborhood that this library is in. We went over last time about Maya Angelou's given name, Marguerite Annie Johnson. That really led us to exploring Marguerite flowers as inspiration. This specific quote, "You're alive, give yourself room to grow." That's something that was guiding our process a lot, this idea of growth and expansion. Again, when we met last time, we talked about some influences from Art Nouveau and more of framing, using elements to frame the design. There were some concerns with the connection of the Art Nouveau movement to Angelou's work and maybe the disparity in both eras. Those concerns were also shared by the design team, so we decided to pivot and present something different. In that exploration, we were looking at patterns, both we were considering kente clothing as well as braiding. When we did the community engagement, the first meeting, there was a lot of talk about the transference of knowledge in African communities and African diaspora communities. Braiding came up over and over as the way that people were sharing knowledge, both in creating patterns for maps that were used as guides, as people were moving in the locations they were at, they were using these braid patterns as mapping to figure out where they needed to go, where they could find water, where they could find food, where they can find safe refuge. So that was a really powerful and interesting facts about how these patterns are read. Leo, who is my collaborator in this, she's from Colombia, and Colombia has one of the largest African communities in Latin America. She herself has African descendants as well. So it was this really beautiful process. As artists, we always have, ideally we get to also learn and grow ourselves. And she was able to explore her own heritage and connection to her African roots and understanding how these patterns were also present in her culture in Colombia. So there was these parallels that we had in how these are manifested in the United States and in South America. And again, that the knowledge can be shared and that, it's the same thousands of miles south of where this library is. So we really focus on abstracting these patterns. Another great story that came up is how people would hide seeds in their braiding as well. And that was a way for them as they were either escaping from plantations or funding new communities. They were able to hide seeds in their braids, and that's the way they were able to sustain themselves, to grow food. Some of these were seeds that came all the way from Africa as well. So again, this transference of knowledge, knowledge travels was really a big part of this, that expansion of knowledge. And we arrived to this, it was a process of abstraction. We wanted to make sure that the Marguerite flowers were still present in more figurative way and then use the braiding as an abstraction. Here, we kind of broke them out so you can see how these patterns interact with each other. These would be applied with two processes. One would be color vinyl, where the vinyl is colored the same color on both sides. So as it is applied on the panel, you'll be able to see the color from both sides of the panel. So there will be an overlapping. Some of it would be applied behind the panel, some of it would be applied in front of the panel to kind of give you more depth. The flowers would be a printed translucent vinyl that would allow the flowers again to kind of have a little bit of transparency. There's a big window that was added in a reading room directly behind these panels, so there'll be a lot of natural light shining directly behind it, really making these patterns come alive. We will be doing some testing with is the vinyl going to go in the back of the window, in the front of the panel? There's some testing we're going to do with the company that is going to make these vinyls before we apply it. So right now, I couldn't tell you which one will be in front or the back, but there will be that kind of play in these two. Here's the picture. We did go and site verify. So this is accurate. This is what it's going to look like as far as like the dimensions goes. The areas that are seen as green, that will be transparent, right? There wouldn't be any vinyl on those areas. But here you can see the really bright pink that is on the wall. We adjusted the colors to really work well with them. So we added the green to really complement the kind of magenta that is on there. Again, the furniture, which is not shown here, we're picking the colors that are throughout the space from the textiles, the lamp fixtures, tiles. So we're thinking about what are the best colors that can complement what is already, that is going to be there. That's it, short and sweet. Again, we presented to the District 1 breakfast over the weekend. So it was attended. There was a lot of people in there. We got the official blessing from the community on this design. And we wanted to make sure that we did that step before we came in front of design council. We were slotted to be here last month, but we really wanted to wait for that community meeting and get feedback from the community prior to being here. So here we are, and happy to answer questions. Yes.
Great. I'm glad you went back and pivoted on the background and went to the braiding. I think that really ties it together. Just out of curiosity, I know you were talking about the possibility of what's going to be on what side of the glass and likes. Is there any possibility that it could be a couple of panes of glass that you can put a little bit of distance so you can start to get some parallax motion in there?
Unfortunately, the glass is already installed, so it'll be applied to it. But yes, I see what you're saying. That would have been cool.
Yeah, the panel's already installed, but we still wanted to play with that. It is, you are going to look at it from both sides.
So the white that you see in there, I mean, that's actually clear glass. So
Correct. Yeah, I didn't have the transparency to really give you the impact, but yeah, really the flower is the only thing that is going to have there will be one printed, and there's going to have like a translucent look to it. Everything else will be solid, but that's what we wanted to create a separate pattern so you can still see through and also play right as the patterns overlap. Any other comments?
That's great. I appreciate the evolution from what y'all presented previously.
Yep. Thank you. We were surprised. Ended up looking more like Kente clothing almost once we did all the abstractions. So that was a happy thing that happened there. Unintended consequence.
Areas, and this isn't a criticism. The floral stems coming from the center rather than traditionally, obviously, would be from ground up.
Yes.
Was there a thought process behind that?
Yeah, totally. So again, we have this like gap in between the panels, so we wanted to address the gap in a way that makes sense. and in thinking of this idea of expansion, right? We played, with different placements, with the flowers coming out of the patterns, coming from the ground, as you would see traditionally. And we ended up landing on this one because we believe that visually it kind of gives you that, one that's unexpected, but it addresses that gap in between in a way that to us made more sense visually. There's also the window right behind it, right? So there will be sort of this like light that comes through it. And that was the thought behind it is to address the gap, to emphasize the idea of expansion and growth, and to just kind of take advantage of the light that is on there. So that's where the idea came from. Yeah. Again, just a little more unexpected, right? Than there were two, again, there was another concept or design where the flowers were coming out of the patterns themselves. And we liked that idea a lot. But ultimately, this one, we wanted to have some sort of mirroring without it being mirrored too. To kind of look like it was, but these are completely different designs. Yeah. Okay, well, there is no, I guess I'm gonna go back to my chair, as chair, and then leave public comment. Okay. I am back. Great. So now, do we have any public comment on this? No. Okay. So now we can move to a vote. Do we have a motion?
Right, motion to approve.
Sure. Do I have a second? Have any discussion on the motion? Nope. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Nope. And I abstain. Yeah. Did I give this quorum? With my. Yeah. Okay.
You can change that font.
Five. Okay. Great. Thank you. Okay. Well, we move on to the next one. Thank you. Let's go to agenda item number 4. We have the Rockville Branch Library. We're looking at 30% design from, let's see.
Garcia.
Chris Garcia. Okay, thank you. And then, okay, let's start with that. So we're gonna be looking again, 30% design. This is our first time presenting to council. And then we're gonna have Lindsay. Well, we'll get to that. Right now, let's look at Chris with 30%.
Hi guys, I'm Chris Garcia. I'm the owner and director of Brick Mob. Good to be here. We didn't make this last one because we felt what we're doing is we're making window graphics for the teen room at the Rockville Library. And we felt like it was imperative that we speak with actual teens on this subject. So we had a meeting with the Teen Advisory Board before this to really hone in the artwork on it. And it was extremely beneficial. Not the adults, but we got far more feedback from the youngins than we did from the adults. So it was very beneficial. Can I give you an example where we're at? You can see my mouse, number 1. This is where we're at over here. Is that right? Yeah, okay. Let's go to, is it just down? Hey, okay. Okay, so initially from our district board meeting, we presented 4 different concepts. There was some feedback across the board. All of them were liked, so it's really hard to nail it down, but the kids had a clear idea of exactly what they liked of all of them. The number one thing that they had, one of our artists originally conceived to do stained glass windows. So if you can see down here on this thing here, you've got window, 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 and window. So 4 panels that we're working with here. And his idea was to do stained glass. Since we're not actually painting this, we're going to be using translucent vinyl to apply to it that's colored on both sides. That way you can see through it and it lends to that stained glass look as the light casts through it. And because we're not painting this by hand, we can go hog wild with the design aspect of it. So full gradients and give it true texture and everything. So we're very excited for that. So when we presented to the kids, he initially, the artist, Herman, he wanted to do specifically on Romeo and Juliet because it's a tale about teens. It's classic literature. It's one that everybody's familiar with. And speaking with the team advisory board, they didn't want to focus on just one. While they thought Romeo and Juliet was cool, that wasn't the direction they wanted to solely head down. But they looked at some of my other artists presentings, and one of them, Jill Worley, has a very graphic novel style in the way he creates things, and they loved that artwork. It spoke to them specifically about all the other ones that we presented. So they wanted to see if we could combine his style with the stained glass aesthetic. So that's kind of what we have going on here. As you see on the left, this is one small section from one of the panels. Each panel will represent a different genre of books in the library. So you'll have, and my artist at the last minute gave me the specific genres he located. So give me just a second here. Sorry. So you're looking at, so on the number, it's a big one, which I'm assuming is the left one. You've got the Great I can't be right. It's got to be one of the other ones here. Anyways, okay, so you can kind of tell here, this one is Dune, if you're not familiar with the book. So that was when he started because he was so excited. He's currently reading it. But you've also got on that one, so I can decipher his right here. You've got War of the Worlds down here on the right, 1984. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Oh, and to rewind a little bit, the kids actually suggested a lot of these novels that spoke to them specifically. And they did want to include classic works and some more modernistic books without being too in the now so that it gets dated too quickly or gets left behind. So we picked stuff that was more relevant, that's had staying power for a while. So like Dune, that's more modern work, but that's been around for quite a while, so it's not going anywhere. So yeah, on that one, then we've got like Lord of the Rings for another one. That'd be more a fantasy style panel, along with some classic literature like the Odyssey, Adventures of Tom Sawyer, Lonesome Dove. Then we have, so you can kind of see on this one, that's little guy right there is Lovecraft, so that's kind of a Cthulhu guy up there. You got Frankenstein, Dracula, and The Shining. And then on, let's see, we've got Great Gatsby, Pride and Prejudice, Sherlock Holmes, Murder on the Orient Express, and Hamlet. And then after Hitchhiker's Guide, there's Dune, and then Parable of the Sower. So quite a lot of modern and classic works there that we're going to represent. And one thing that was definitely requested was they want to be able to have some illusion of privacy in there to themselves, but still have the ability for the staff to look back and make sure nothing is going on in there with them. So like I said, it's going to be transparent, and we're also toying around. I've got samples on the way that are going to be showed transparent and then also transparent with perforation, just so we can make sure it's going to A, showcase their artwork correctly, and B, get enough translucency to keep an eye on things. And a little closer up, a better view of those. So yeah, so that's kind of the rough idea of it, and that's the direction we're going, short and sweet.
Great, thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Do you have questions or comments for Chris? Again, this is 30% development.
Yeah.
I love the illustration.
No, thank you.
If they can keep up the paint on all of this and have it at the same quality as that, it'd be just stunning. But, very cool.
Awesome.
I'm obsessed with it, love it. Really question, and I don't know, Allison, if this is more for you, is there color palette or cohesion? Just this is in the teen, which is not that far from the huge mural that'll be in the children's. Do we have a color that we're working directly with, or is there freedom?
Yes and yes. So we have a color palette that has been established for the branch, and everyone has the material, that material information to work within. And so what I did at Alfred, which is a little bit further along, as the artist sent me, so she sent Jessica, who's doing the hanging elements at Alfred, she sent me actually what vinyls she was using, and I could look at that with materials and make sure that everybody has that cohesively. So the teen artist, I have all of her paint colors as well. Sorry, children's here. I have all of the paint colors for her too, so I will make sure everything relevant.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments? Any books you want to see?
Those were great books.
Or any books that you're worried about also. That's something we definitely talked about. But overall, I think these are teens. It's okay to be a little free with what they're watching or reading. Okay.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Great. So now we're gonna be looking at, let's see, Lindsay Coronado, and this is gonna be 90% development. So we're looking for a final approval for this one.
So do you want to go ahead and do a motion for 30%?
We want to break it up.
Break it up. I've got 2 recommended actions. Do you want to break it up?
Gotcha, I see now. Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Just give us 1 second.
Oh,
Thank you. All right, so any public comments on this one project? No, okay. So do we have a, let's see where we're at. Okay, 30%. Do you have a motion?
Motion to approve at 30%.
Do I have a second? Okay, Bill, second. Discussion on the motion? No, okay, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Yeah, approved. Thank you. Now we can go with Lindsay presenting 90%. Thank you.
All right, good feedback. So since we talked last time, we got into the specifics of this bas relief sculpture that's gonna go above the fireplace and these simplified human forms that are gonna be in it and kind of emanating outward. But there were questions about what materials I'm using and some of the colors, so I'm gonna get into this. And just a reminder of why I went with bas relief. This is a space that's elevated above the fireplace. It can use a little bit of depth, and it creates interesting shadows, and it kind of is reminiscent of these ancient libraries that have these cool marble bas relief structures in them. So getting into the materials, I wanted it to be lightweight but very sturdy and temperature resistant, even though the fireplace is not too much of an issue for getting the heat. But I'll show you these materials will stand up. So I'm using a baseboard of this just cradled wooden board, and then I'm going to carve these styrofoam pieces that will attach and then be covered with about a quarter to a thick 1/2 inch thick layer of this 2-part epoxy, which is something that I did a lot when I worked at the zoo. So I'll show you some of that. The materials I want to use are these 2-part epoxies, and I'm going to try out both of these. They both work well for durability and temperature resistance, but I think the magic sculpt will give me a finer detail. And this freeform, I worked with a lot at the zoo as well, and it's from Olathe. It's a local almost. And this I'm bringing up as a past piece where I've done this kind of method. It allows the sculptural middle part to kind of come off the board. And I was just gonna show you some of these, it's weather resistant. This is underneath the rainfall room in the zoo. And it's very, very durable. Kids can hit at it. So we talked last time about kind of the colorful background, but I wanted to consider the other things that are going to be in the room, such as the flooring, and I want to double check with you. I think this is the correct flooring, and then the dark, okay, kind of a maroonish color of the fabrics nearby. So there was concern that it would just pull in some of those colors but have enough contrast. So I wanted to show a few options. I'm still a big fan of this original color option. It has a lot of reds, some neon oranges, and some blues and greens a little bit. But we could go a little bit more green. We could go a little lighter. Just something that would still work in the space and work with the other artwork in the room or in the library. So that's something I'm totally open on feedback to. If anyone has a favorite, this is like a more zoomed in. The colors are a little different on the screen too than potentially maybe on the printout. So it's something that can be played with too as like I see the space develop. It wouldn't be hard for me to add in like a little bit more, greens or what's needed.
The printout or the screens more accurately reflect.
I haven't seen the printout, so I'm not sure, but I can check.
Here's a quick. Let's get the page. That worked, by the way.
The printout is, neither of them is really quite there. The like option B looks kind of accurate, but D is really blown out and A is a little bit more pastel. But if there's like a consensus of what direction, or if we kind of like the original option too.
I can give a little bit more background on that.
Oh, sure.
So, I'm gonna go back to the bubble. So, a lot of the furniture around this, we're gonna have some chairs here, and then there are these seating nooks that are on either side of the fireplace. So there's one on this side, one on the opposite side. They have a rust colored upholstery and a rust colored acoustical panel that will be back there. And so some of the feedback that we gave after the last round was we just didn't want everything to look too matching in that area. We wanted it to soften and to have a repetitive color. So that is why you're seeing some.
Do you want it to look good there?
Do I what?
You want it to look good in there?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can play with it, but once I see it in person, like pops and colors a little bit more. But I still think the original option, maybe going a little bit lighter, a little more greens, will get us there. So.
So Lindsay, do you want the council to give you some feedback on the
Sure.
colors or?
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
are there
there's-
any,
If there's a.
since you provided so much, are there any preferences?
Bill, I think you two can handle your color.
Cool. Really good.
My personal preference is still with your original. I can see where some tweaking could take place, but I feel like the palette of the original is more in tune with the era and history of the building as well, which I really like.
And then regarding the color of the golden part, I'm kind of going for this like light green. I want to play with that too. I might apply some kind of like spray texture that gives it like a more stone feel or something that kind of unifies it. That makes it not just look like the base epoxy. I want it to be really smooth and sanded and look like it. Who knows what that material is?
Out of curiosity, sometimes people come in and basically do a patina that they rub off so that they get a little bit more depth in something that's bas relief. Is that something you're looking at, or are you just gonna leave it? Does that make sense?
Wait, no, repeat.
Sure. Sometimes on bas relief, people will come in and basically lay on a darker layer and then wipe down so that some of the crevices start to take on a little bit more depth.
Yeah.
Is that something you're doing, or are you?
I'll play with that. I think that's a great idea to like emphasize the shape of it more if it looks a little flat in areas. Yeah.
Bas relief, yeah.
Wash, basically, right?
Say again?
Some sort of wash, basically, yeah.
Wash and wipe.
Emphasize those. And then I didn't list it, but just like a clear coat, like polyacrylic type coating on that. Oh, and then I do think it would be cool to finish it off with some kind of floating frame, and we'll talk again on the material for that and the exact color so it fits the other woods in the space. And then here I show the width. So I'm going 3 feet by 4 feet, and then I buffered in like 2 inches for a frame. So that's the proportion of it above the fireplace there. And then just showing some of the costs of the materials. I think that's it. Yeah. Any question or concerns?
Questions from council?
Cool. I'd make a motion that we approve it.
Do we want to do these separately? Do we do them all together?
Do them all together.
It's possible. Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Lindsay. Yep. And now we're moving on to Katie Luke's. We're gonna look at the mural design. Again, this is 90% development.
So this is the children's mural that was, that you all saw last time, and we mentioned earlier, in close proximity to the teen window graphics. So Katie Lukes is joining us remotely, so I will, Katie, I'll let you talk, and then I will move through your slides as we need to. Katie? It looks like Katie maybe had to drop off, so I will walk you through her her mural. There haven't been many changes since last time, so you can see. What do I need to hit to make this full screen? Yeah, there we go. Okay. So nothing's changed in this regard since last time, so you can see how she's breaking it up into 3 areas. There will be shelving below it, and so we coordinated that height and those dimensions with her. And then she sent her actual bare paint colors. So I am going to pick up samples of these, and we'll coordinate them again with our palette interior material wise, make sure we're coordinated there. I've also been using these as we're selecting furniture, so that we can make sure everything's coordinated. We did that at Offered, and so work through that and work with the window graphic and honestly everything with the separation. We have it all set out, and we're making sure everything feels cohesive. And then here's her budget.
Comments on this design? It seems pretty much the same as last time, doesn't it?
Yeah, nothing's changed on the design.
Some
Yeah, she didn't
information.
have any comments, she just added additional information for design development.
The only thing I don't see here is a clear coat.
Okay.
And I think this is the same for any of the murals that they include a protective clear coat that it's, I think, mostly for maintenance.
Okay.
You know, since you have kids, teens, all kinds of people in there, just to protect the work.
Yeah, I will pass that along to her.
I just like to comment a little, like going back to my, as far as with Lindsay, I love seeing both of them. Like, I like how this is going to play well with the team. It's just a little more youthful, but I think the color palettes, and I think I hear what you're saying. I think when you're talking wall surfaces and glass surfaces, I feel like those make sense to like tie in with your furnitures and all of that. But for me, I would just encourage, I think with Lindsay's piece, that is more of a piece of artwork that I think it can, I almost prefer it to not follow the exact color theme. I think it needs to have it a little bit, it can have a little bit more freedom in that palette. I mean, obviously we still want cohesion, but I want it to look like just everything was.
Yeah.
Like,
Any other questions or comments on this one?
All right, great. Then we're gonna move on to the next one.
All right.
We have Kelly Tompkins.
So Kelly, I saw her on the team list. She also sent, so last time there was a comment about her paint colors. So she mixes her paint colors herself, so she couldn't just send me her there. He actually mixed and sent samples of all of that. So I'm happy to pass this around as you're looking at it. I've looked at it with the interior material palette as well, and feedback. So. Okay, Kelly. Take it away.
All right. Is my mic working okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. So this is an update for the community meeting room artwork. This slide shows the dimensions. Someone asked last time, I didn't have the exact number, but that shows that. Next slide, please. So this is the updated design. we had, I added, so what I was calling the future person or the astronaut wasn't really reading as that as much as I wanted with the group. So I made her look more like an astronaut with the added more of the helmet. I adjusted a few colors, a little bit of adjustment of the colors on the pirate. If anyone wants me to go back over what any of this is or what it means, I'll be glad to. But otherwise, we can go to the next slide. And that's, in the room. And then the next slide shows with the chairs. And then you can go to the next one. Those are the colors that now you can see in person, because screens, every single device, and print, it just isn't, it doesn't show what I intend. If things look strange or a little too much or need to lighten up or need to dull down or something in person, then I, make adjustments as needed if something looks strange. And I will add a clear coat at the end over the top of it. These are kind of my signature. I adjust a little bit for each project, but I always use the happy, bright colors, and some of these are toned down, especially the greens and even the yellows and the oranges and the red, so that it's just not too much. If I use the colors I use outdoors, inside, it's just a little much. So this is actually my toned down version of what I think will go here. And I'm glad you can see those in person. And anyway, next slide. And this is just the full rendering again. So I'm glad to answer questions. I know that the colors just on the screen don't, they sometimes look like neon green and things like that. So I'm glad to answer any questions about any of it or re-explain what the mural means.
So if I don't have any questions,
The future person reading that reference, that was the main comment that you got.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, Kelly.
yeah,
Thank you.
thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we have Sheldon Draper. I'm on up. Sure.
Hello, everybody. This is what I have before, or what I have. Get into it. That's kind of a mock-up for what it looks like. 4 feet by 7 feet. Painting. The overall budget, I got that. So for like the fabrication project, it's gonna be, we're gonna have like a wood panel, apply a column layer of color, start applying figures, numbers and stuff. I'm gonna add a layer of middle part so it'll be protected. But for the overall design stuff, all right, so can I pass like physical things?
Yeah.
All right, so I have stuff here. So like the figures and stuff, I'm gonna like render them a little bit more. Like on the bottom here, that's the only one I really got rendered on the thing. But I'm gonna I don't know, just add more detail so it's cohesive with my style. And so I was gonna paint all the figures, but I didn't have to paint. Yeah, that's basically it. Unless you guys have any questions. All right. I got some feedback to us that I guess draw back on the books, so like to emphasize the community members. So I just put I don't know. That's the main focus for this, and the people. But usually my work is usually very like noisy, full of collage stuff. And I figured since it was a library, I would like draw back on that aspect too and have the overall piece be like a little more quieter than usual other work. So.
Got a couple of questions, but I want to hear from council. Do we have questions, comment? Jill, on your original sketch and just your work in general, there's a lot of expressiveness, right? And the work that you do. And this feels a lot more kind of restrained and cleaned up. I guess that look transparency you have, you added some of the detailing that you do. Because one of the comments I have is, although I do appreciate having this clean version of it, I would hate to miss some of that kind of expressiveness, right, that is unique to your work in the final products. I don't know if you can tell us more about it. Is there going to be some of that in it, or is it going to be like here where you added some detail? Are you going to add more of that expressive kind of loose detailing, or are you kind of leaning more towards this more graphic, flat version?
See, that's the thing. I don't know that expressiveness like happens on actually making the piece itself. So all this like mock up, it's like 30%, 90%. That expressiveness happens when I'm doing the thing itself. Like so, it's hard to translate. Like, what am I gonna like make the same like expressive mark twice over and over? So I don't know. So I guess that's what I'm trying to draw back. So,
You will have some of that then as you paint it, basically.
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Is that you're kind of looking to us as, I'm guessing is, do you have that freedom for?
Basically,
Yeah, I think he's like, if I'm gonna present and you need it 100% identical, this is what you get, versus do I have freedom? And is that, am I understanding?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
I do, I agree. I think, I love your work and I love this piece, even with the higher graphic, but I, do miss some of those other elements that really speak to, you as an artist and your original presentation. So I don't know how. Freedom of.
I guess it just struck me.
Yeah.
And again, this is your first time doing something like this, right? This commission, yeah. And this is helpful. Last time we gave you some feedback on just the presentation, right? Being able to tell us dimensions, renderings, materials you're using, and you have presented all of that. Again, which helps us kind of see what it's going to be like, right? Kind of helps us get an idea. Yeah, but I guess like Janelle said, I just really, what makes your work unique, it's, your mark making. And I would hate to lose some of that for something that it's more cleaned up. Although, it's nice to see the elements, right? Like we really want that texture. And I guess this is similar to Lindsay's piece in that they're kind of standalone art pieces versus a mural or a graphic that is on a window. And I think that gives you a little bit more freedom on what you can do, right? The murals and graphics on a window and a panel, right? It's flat. It's that's what you get. This you have the ability to be a little bit more loose, right? With the work. Personally, I would encourage you to not lose that remark making that I think is so unique to you, and even the collaging. The other comment I had, and I don't know, it's just the wall itself. Here it shows this kind of gray color, but I don't know if there's a color for the wall and how that interacts with the piece.
So this is right inside the main entry and all of the materials are pretty neutral in that area. You will be able to see Kelly Tompkins, although through those doors that you can see right to the right there.
Huh.
You will be able to see from there also.
Okay.
But yeah, everything else will be very.
Okay.
Little entryway on the way back to the restroom. So the flooring in there is travertine.
Okay. Yep.
Sheldon, I don't have any issues with trusting you. I think some things that would help me though, and some of the other artists did it, showed previous examples of projects that get a feel for your style, a feel for your flair. I'm 100%. We don't need to have the whole thing mocked up to exactly how you're going to do it. But having that feel for what that actually is would be helpful.
Oh. Should I put something up or just, should I put something up on my phone and show you or for like people presentations?
In future, I think it's fine because we're 30% for this. I think time would be great to have some of those examples on there.
This is 90%.
Oh, it's 90. Okay. Yeah, that would be good.
If I can make just a staff comment, I would love to just work with you, project team on the budget a little bit, because we just currently showcasing under budget, but we want to make sure that you get paid at some point there too. So it's mostly materials and supplies right now, but we can coach you on refining.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Are people allowed to share screen?
Sheldon, I've not met you yet, and I'm sitting here looking online at some of your work because I'm just now picking up on what you guys are talking about, I think, on this. In particular, I'm looking at that piece,
Oh, yeah.
and I love that.
Thank you.
It's really beautiful. And it's got a lot of expressiveness in it and the likes. Whereas this is much more almost graphic cut paper in appearance. Is that what you're saying is you would rather have more of that?
Yeah, from the last meeting where he presented, it was basically a rough sketch, right? And we asked, help us see the piece in the space, right, with the rendering and with some color choices. Some coaching, right? First time doing this, but now I was like overcorrected. It's like, okay, don't lose that.
Yeah.
The Sheldon part of it.
Listen to what he just said.
I particularly think being that with Kelly's piece being visible inside and hers is very high graphic and it's also figure based, I think we want some contrast there and that stylizing. So, I guess I just kind of feel like we're saying similar things. It's just, I don't know what liberties we have. Can we do an approval with basically saying, get your direction, but do your thing, or do we need him to come back with a more?
It's up to us. It's however.
Either way.
Yeah.
It's gonna look more like this than like that.
Personally, I think that knowing Sheldon's work and stuff, I think if we continue to bring him back and doing this style of processing, we're going to continue to lose magic of what Sheldon brings into his art. And I know that that's not traditional for how a lot of these go, but with his work and his style, I would just make the comment and recommendation that I'd like to just see us, we're on the same page as far as the direction and the content. And now I want to see the artistic freedom.
And again, so in this case with council, there's a 90% approval and, we get to, with the motion, you can say, we want you to come back, this artist specifically, or we approve it and give you the freedom, right? I agree with you, and I think, with Allison, I think that there's been great communication with Allison and all the different artists. And like Glenn mentioned before, I trust that they'll be able to ensure that the work is, that the work works. Lack of a better word. So it's up to us, right? We can kind of let them loose and trust that they are in communication and will do a good product based, do we have enough information to make that decision? Or do we need more, basically?
Yeah, I think my general comment is, I get where you're coming from. I think that, and just familiarizing myself now with your work, it's hard to kind of give a comp of what it's going to look like, because so much, 90% of the life of it is in that stuff that goes on. It's not in the actual form. And as I look at this strikes me more as a cut paper kind of, and I get it. You're showing that because you're saying, hey, you wanted to see something more accurate. I see a person down here looking at a book. I see another one over here looking at a book, computer up here, so on and so forth. This is kind of the construction of the imagery. However, the style is going to be what you are comfortable doing. It's not that you're trying to create a cut paper kind of style. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. That being said, I trust him.
Great. So it seems like people are in agreement with the accurate. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Sheldon. And yeah, just ready to. Yeah. Thanks, I appreciate it. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the last artist in the project. We got Sujin Lim. Is she online?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, students, you are up. I will scroll through your slides, so just let me know when you're ready to advance.
Hello everyone. Could you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, that's great. Hello everyone. My name is Susan Lim, and I'm glad to share the developed composition of my proposed sculpture with updated rendering image today. After our last meeting, it was great to hear the feedback from everyone prefers the option A, and Alison also provided the plans and 3D model files of the library and site dimension drawings. Can you go to the next? Yeah, so these were the actual height of the building. And also, we got the 3D model, and these were incredibly helpful in visualizing how the sculpture would be positioned and how it would interact with the site dimension. We can go to the next. Yeah, that's the area that the sculpture could be located. Next. Yeah, so from the 3D model of the library, my team put the sculpture. This is 9 feet tall. The middle sculpture is 9 feet tall here. So everything is proportional. And you can also see the people on the pathway right behind. So I hope this helps how they will look like. Yep. So the two plant sculptures positioned on either side of the main figure will be, the tallest one will be around 4 feet tall. And the foundation is approximately 8 to 10 feet in diameter, and then 30 inches to 30-inch depth. I'm trying to figure it out with my engineer now. But yeah, but this will reflect the frost line depth. Next. 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 Yeah, for the material, the structure, armature, steel type, and size will be decided by the structural engineer. And then the main material will be the polyester resin casting. And then the sculpture will be painted with Matthews 3 paint system with primer and base custom paint, and then clear coat, which will provide a UV and graffiti protection. The durability of this paint system will be equivalent to the automotive paint quality. Next. For the maintenance, the artwork should be power washed every 2 years, and then the clear coat will need to be inspected every 7 years. Next. While I'm still finalizing some details, including installation and foundation costs, I think the sculpture's 9 feet tall height will remain within this estimate. But I'm trying to figure out all the finer detail at the moment. Thank you for your time and attention, and I would love to hear your thoughts or feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, comments?
Question, Allison, on several of these renderings, there's the people like walking like a possibility, there's no walking, there's not a path or sidewalk
There's
along.
an exit sidewalk along there, but they will not be entering there.
Say it again.
There's an exit sidewalk from there, so out of the teen area, we have a second. Get out of the space because of size and square footage, so we can exit path that will walk through there. You don't enter the library on this side of the building, you enter on the south side.
Emergency exit or a daily?
I'm sorry.
So it won't be like a daily use?
No.
And then do we know then where the sculpture, how that sits off the building, how far? It looks like closer to the building than we think it was previously.
Yeah, it's showing a little bit closer to that's one of my comments. That's like, does it have to look slightly?
That's what I was.
We are dealing with, so I'll go back a little bit. We have room, we are dealing with the setback, so, but I think we still have some room to move it out in the building a little bit.
That'd be my recommendation.
I agree.
So that dotted line, that's as far out as you can go?
That's the setback.
Okay.
How many feet is it? 25.
25, okay.
I'd have to go back and look at the RFQ. We had it on the RFQ. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, the comment I have, I mean, the sculpture, looks the same as before, which looks great. The only comment I had is just, again, the location. The rendering is showing it really close to the wall, and there's that addition, right, that it's on there. Yeah, that kind of L shape. So I would encourage y'all to have it further out as you can.
Like in here.
Yeah, because there's like big kind of grassy area in that corner, and if the sculpture is too close to the wall, then you still have this empty grassy area. I feel like the interesting part of the sculpture is to be this beautiful green. This kind of white clean sculpture against the green would be really striking versus kind of up against the wall. I don't know. That's
I'm assuming that the back side looks just like the front side. I only see one side of it.
Backside of the sculpture.
Backside of the sculpture, yeah, it's almost the same, but it has like I mean, it's different, but similar. Yeah.
Got a big happy face on the cloud on the backside. Okay.
no Baltimore.
Yeah, or yeah, it's kind of unfortunate there's not a little bit more of an opportunity for people to walk up to it, because I think it's going to be something that people are going to want to go up to.
Yeah.
And getting there in the middle of a grassy area and knowing that the way the city is able to maintain some degree of their grassy areas. All gone, good.
Yep.
it's just one of those things where either paths are going to get beaten to it or people are going to feel unwelcome to actually walk up to it. And it's really a beautiful piece. And I think it's cool, but I just wish it was more accessible.
The fact that it is adjoining the park, I will just say from
Yeah.
experience in that area, people are just wandering with kids and dogs all over the grass areas. And I think by doing this and bringing that more forward, I think what we're doing is actually extending that footprint of the park
Yeah,
feeling
comfort level.
into, to this place in front of the library.
Yep.
Doesn't necessarily have direct traffic ways of where people are gonna have a beaten path.
Yeah.
Lou?
That was something that came up last time. It is not currently in the budget to have it lit. We do have some contingency that we're looking into to see if that would be an option to make it lit. Because I think this space would really benefit from being lit.
I agree. If we can do it at all, that'd be awesome. I will say after our last conversation and driving by there, I mean, you do have, it is a pretty well lit area because of the parking lot is well lit and the street is well lit right through there. And then just the fact that she's doing the bright white, I think even in the evening, it's going to be striking.
Yeah.
It's lit for half the day.
You could have answered that way.
Question, just because you included some maintenance information, which I was always appreciated. And any concerns about irrigation or sprinklers or lawnmowers being nearby that we need to take into consideration, coding or the general service?
Yeah, that sprinkler question is really good.
Sprinkler, I think
There's a
with
sprinkler system. I don't believe there's an
Not
irrigation system.
I assume it will be the same as rain, just clean as it will be a clean water, right?
Susan, we have water here that likes to turn things colors. So I don't think there's an irrigation system here though. So I don't think that's a concern.
Then about lawnmower, I think the foundation will be 6-inch higher the grade, so there will be no problem. Lawnmower will not affect to the sculpture itself.
And also the weed whackers that go around it.
Foundation
The
will
foundation
protect
is-
it from that, yes.
Yeah, they have.
That's 6 inches
More or
above.
less.
Stand out on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, it looks like there's two main comments. One is location, seems like there's some interest in it being further out in the field. And the other one is lighting. Seems like you're looking into contingency to see budget, to see if there's money there for lighting. Are there any other comments beyond those? And if not, would anyone want to entertain a motion that includes those two items?
Well, I think it would be a motion for all the 90%. Do we need public comment first?
Yeah, thank you. Public comment? No? Okay. Thank you.
An attempt this then.
Okay,
Um,
one by one. So let's look at we have, let's see, so we have Lindsay. With the Fire Police, we have Katie Lukes and Kelly Tompkins with the two murals. We have Sheldon Draper with the hanging piece, and then we have Susan with the sculpture outside.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the 90% public art design concepts as presented for Katie Lukes, Kelly Tompkins, Lindsay Kernodle with a note that trust in color adjustment as needed. Sheldon Draper, based on content approval with freedom of expression allowance. And for Sujin Lim, with
Shifted location.
yeah, shifted location, working with Allison to bring out from the building and add additional lighting if funding is available.
Second that.
Again, Great, that one will be the longest. Yeah.
And then, no.
Great job, thank you. Yeah, really good. Do you have any discussion on the motion? Any adjustments to the motion? Okay, great. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Okay. Passes. Did we capture all the information on that motion?
Thank you, Janelle.
Great.
Thank
Great
you
job on that
everyone
one.
so much.
Thank you, Alyson. Yeah, thanks to all the artists online and present for your work. Thank you. Whew, we're almost done, y'all. We're almost done. We're gonna be out of here before noon, I promise. Okay, so number 5, as a rise, we have 3 items. We have the downtown sculpture pedestals. We have the CIP review for 2632, and then design council retreat.
So rest assured, I talk fast, so we can through some of it. So for downtown sculpture pedestals, just a kind of reminder and refresher for some of the new members. Design Council allocated $200,000 to this project last year with percent for art funding. What's notable and unique about this project is it's the first time we've ever done a standalone art project with the percent for art funding. Last year we started the maintenance portion of the CIP funding. This will be our first time doing a standalone project. Not to say we always have to do them or always seek them out, but there was a unique opportunity with this one. There are 14 pedestals in the downtown area that are we're looking to infill the former sculpture walkabout program that used to be an Arts Council program that was independently funded. It was not a city project. The Arts Council is a nonprofit that's independent of the city. So they used to run that program. When they sunset the program, there was a lot of community members that said, hey, but we love those sculptures and how are we going to fill those pedestals? So we had this unique opportunity with this funding to purchase sculptures versus having a rotating sculpture walk was the intent of the previous program. So City Council adopted the CIP with that funding. Last week, they approved our initiation of the CIP funding so we can kick off the project. So we're looking to purchase 14 sculptures to infill the vacant pedestals. And we're hoping to launch that sometime this spring. You have a couple caveats that we're looking at. We did apply for matching funds from the National Endowment of the Arts last year. Federal funding has a big question mark around it right now, so we want to advance the project with or without. We hope we get that funding because we'll be able to purchase potentially a higher level of art, but without it, we still think we can move forward. We've also just submitted a grant to the Kansas Arts Commission to potentially underwrite one of the sculpture pedestals. So we'll be awaiting that funding as well. We don't think either of those funding prohibit us from launching the call to artists to at least get that out on the streets for looking for proposals. So we're going to run that program through CAFE and do a solicitation for art. Because of the very public nature of this project, as all of our projects, we're putting together the selection committee. And this is where if a council member is interested, let Jana know so we can add them to that committee. Right now, we're from Old Town Association, Interest Bank Arena. 3 of the pedestals are around the arena. Downtown Wichita, we hope to have at least 1 to 2 local artists participate as well. Jana and myself, city council member, or 3, because it falls between 3 different districts. We'll see if one of the city council members is interested in serving on the selection committee. And then a member of the Arts Council as well. So looking to have 9 to maybe 11 committee members help with the selection process whenever we get there. But kind of step 1 is that call for artists. We are excited about this project because we think it has some entry-level artist potential. We're looking at like the $10,000 to $15,000 range for a sculpture. So we think that this is an exciting opportunity for artists to enter the public art field who have been on the fence and looking for kind of a first step to getting in. We do think we're going to do a national call, just given the results we've had over our last few calls last year, but do some sort of priority or bonus points for local Kansas-based artists. So cast the net really wide, but really incentivize and encourage local artists to participate. So that's kind of the general scope of the project. Happy to hear any comments or concerns if there are any, or if you're interested in serving on the selection committee, ask Jana or let Jana and I know, and we'll include you. The selections will come to Design Council for approval and ultimately go to City Council for approval of purchase whenever we get there. So that's that project. Okay, and then just items B and C regarding the schedule. We are doing CIP a little bit different this year, just within the budget office. It shouldn't really change the way design councils operated in the past, but we are really following council's direction that there's likely not going to be a lot of new projects in the next few years as we have an anticipated budget deficit. So we are looking at the existing project list, and then potentially adding some deferred maintenance projects. So we don't know that we're going to see a lot of big projects the way we have these last few years with the remodel of the pools, remodel of several community centers, remodel of the libraries. We don't really forecast seeing anything major like that coming in the next couple of years. At this time, always subject to change, but we're hoping to, we still have to allocate the funding that's available through the December art work. There shouldn't be any major changes to what's this body can allocate for in the next few years, or any major projects coming up that would have like considerable discussion points. But with that, we're looking to have an initial budget allocation meeting in maybe into late March with approvals in April to match the city's budget process. Paul and I had a sidebar before the meeting started about that schedule, and I think that's all. As we have so many new design council members, I think it would be apropos to just have the entire body involved versus historically it's been at a subcommittee level. Chair's nodding his head that we'll go from there. The proposals, we would do it as part of a design council retreat to really look at, assess the ordinance, to look at the bylaws, and then to do this at the same time. So that's our proposal. Jan is looking at dates, and we'll kind of get back and float dates and times. I will say they would, because the entire body's involved, they would be considered public meetings. So we just have to manage agendas and minutes accordingly. But it would, because it's all discussion based, it'd be similar to a city council workshop to where public comment would. That's how we currently anticipate that meeting structure going.
Yeah, I agree. You know, we used to do it first started, the whole council will look at the CIP, and that was really helpful to me as someone who was new to really understand how the money was allocated. And yeah, I think that would be helpful. Because the sooner that you can give us some dates to look through, be best probably for everyone.
I'll do that this week.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I have one more as may arise, because I always do. We're still looking for a landscape architect. If anyone knows of anyone, that would be a good addition to this. We are still looking to replace Jeff Best's seat. So, but his year of vacancy is coming up, so he might be able to be reappointed. But we've had no luck finding that second landscape architect. So I know the mayor is still looking for an appointment there.
So if there's anybody over there.
You don't have landscape.
No landscape? Okay.
That would be great.
All right, so is that all that's all right? Okay. Well, let's go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 11:50 a.m. Again, thanks everyone for your comments. I really appreciate everyone participating. Really makes a difference.